Now, this is measurable. I'm not a big social science guy, but there's a lot of social science that says more family, more church, more family, more children, more church. One writer, Brad Wilcox, said that children drive their parents to church. And they drive their parents to church because when you have a child, there's the wonder of new life, but it's also those children start to ask questions. And so many adults aren't experts, so they want to get some expertise from someone who might be. And so there really is a phenomenon that of the two being interrelated.
You describe that as enclaves within the book, that within our lives we have multiple different formats of enclaves where we can dwell in that richness of tradition. Whether it's, as you mentioned, learning how to operate within a family, learning how to honor thy father and mother, or learning how to disagree, which is something that seems to be so hard for us today, but it is so important. You're exactly right that we are able to dwell within that enclave. And yet there is another part of it. There is that dwelling in, and then there's the breaking out and the new creation and the participation of creation, which you speak about as well in Tradition Awakening. Why is it important for us to understand both sides of that coin, both the dwelling in and the breaking out?
Oh, that's excellent. So, dwelling in and breaking out is a phrase that was penned by the great physical chemist and philosopher Michael Polanyi in the 20th century. And Polanyi's vision was that nobody can learn science, nobody can be a scientist if they don't first dwell in all the science, all the math that we know, because it's a cumulative enterprise. But he applied that same vision, dwelling in and breaking out, to all of civilization. And so the chapter 2, which is not really about the church, it's just about tradition in general. It's about things like baseball and our legal system and even a little bit of science. It always begins by dwelling in. Now, a person of genius at some point can say, well, as they're being taught chemistry or physics, they'll see a problem no one else has seen. And our current paradigm for how to deal with problems doesn't solve that one. So what they'll do is eventually, if they may come up with a solution that's broader and that will include the problem that a solution to the problem they perceived. So this is good breaking out. This is a breaking out that ends up teaching the community. And the tradition is simply a community that successfully traverses time, that successfully traverses generations. So most of what's valuable is intergenerational. Baseball is intergenerational. It didn't start 3 weeks ago. It's been going on for over 100 years. And there's a tradition in baseball of how to do things. And that has been changed in some interesting ways and some good ways. And the same thing is true in our legal system, where we always look at precedents. Nobody in America, no lawyer can ever win a case in America if that lawyer doesn't address precedents in the whole legal history that are somehow analogous to the current case. So this chapter is a prolegomenon, a kind of introduction to the later chapters on the church. Now, bad breaking out is just like where someone just says, well, I'm feeling rebellious or hormonal or adolescent or something of that nature, and it's anti-authority, it's anti-tradition. But this is a recipe for societal idiocy.
And confusion, I would say. It's hard to understand, or I should say, that sense of being required to break out without having first the security of the dwelling in, I think, is a disservice that has been promoted broadly that has led to a lot of maybe well-intentioned, maybe not well-intentioned breaking out and confusion as we were talking about there. So didn't mean to interrupt you. You're
No,
welcome
no,
to continue your thought, but we see it
that's
all the time.
that's very helpful, actually,
Yeah,
Amanda.
yeah.
You know,
Indeed.
C.S. Lewis. I know you know a lot about him. I know you've read a lot of Lewis. He was he spent his whole life in Ireland and in England. Went on a brief vacation or two to Greece with his wife that he married very late in life. But Lewis never came to America. Now, he makes the point, he's read about this place called New York City. He believes there's a place called New York City, but he's never seen New York City. But he's learned about New York City. Well, how has he learned about it? Well, simply by reading books about that mention it, or that seeing maps of it or pictures of it and that sort of thing. Most of the knowledge we have secondhand. We don't have it firsthand. We have to trust those who write the books. We have to trust our teachers. We have to trust our ministers and priests. We have to trust our parents to a certain degree. And if we don't, we're going to live a very isolated, cut off life where we just don't know very much.
We don't have the benefit of the tradition.
Precisely. And so every book is an attempt to enter into the treasure trove of the tradition, to address what's good in it, and maybe to add something to it, maybe have a little bit of a breakout.
Which is the beautiful gift that we have in the participation of creation and of development, which I'm sure we could talk for a long time about as well. But bringing it back to tradition awakening, anything else that you would want to speak to specifically about this book?
Yeah, tradition awakening is intended to be a double entendre. It has a French word that has two meanings. So the first is the tradition, and all traditions, we awaken ourselves. So the church enclave that you mentioned a few minutes ago, it has to be a place of light and life and love and fellowship. It has to be a place of goodness, and it cannot be a place of harm. That's almost unthinkable, and we've had some of that. So, but that's true of the family. That's true of any sports team or even a business. Every business leader should be structuring his or her business in such a way that the people who come to work there are happy to work there, are happy to contribute, happy to participate in the goals of the business. Because even a business becomes a kind of an enclave. But the second meaning of tradition awakening is not the first is we awaken ourselves. The other is we awaken everybody else that'll listen. He who has an ear to hear, let him hear. We won't get everybody, but if we do our work well, we're going to get a lot of people, and we do get a lot of people. There are a lot of people whose lives are radically improved. There are a lot of people who are still finding Christ, who are finding God, who are finding love, who are repudiating former things they said and did. This never stopped, and it's still underway, and that's the second part of the church. So the first part of the chapter there are two chapters on the church, three actually. The first is called The Church as the Intergenerational Messenger. The second two chapters are companion pieces called Enclaves and Outposts. And the enclave is what happens within the church. The outpost is the church's outreach, its evangelistic efforts, which have never stopped. Because as it's been said, the first evangelist was Christ himself.
Well, it's also very fascinating to hear about, and thank you for how you have laid out those things within Tradition Awakening. That book is coming out this August 2025 through Baylor University Press. We do have that book linked here on this page. It's also available through Amazon and Barnes & Noble and others. We will also include a code on this page for a discount. Anybody who uses that code to purchase Tradition Awakening will be able to have the benefit of that little discount there, and also the joy of reading about Tradition Awakening, why it's important for us, and why we need to know about it. So thank you, Dr. Rolnick, very much.
And thank you, Amanda.